Lotte takes a new leap beyond its boundaries. Our change will lead to better lives for all. New Lotte, the power of a better world. New today, better tomorrow. Lotte.
Coming up on Arirang News. President Yoon in Lithuania meets with NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg, upgrading the partnership between South Korea and the Atlantic Alliance into a new individually tailored partnership program. The powerful sister of the North Korean leader Kim Yo-jong refers to South Korea as a separate sovereign state for the first time, calling it the Republic of Korea. Torrential downpours drench most of South Korea, and authorities issue heavy rain warnings for the capital Seoul and the second largest city, Busan. Damage expected across the nation, with at least one man in his 70s being killed, swept away by floodwater. Good evening. It's 9 p.m. here in Seoul. Thank you for joining us on Arirang News. South Korean President Yoon is in the Lithuanian capital of Vilnius to attend the annual summit of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. A day before he attends the session for partner countries, he's taking steps to ramp up Seoul's relations with NATO as well as countries on a bilateral level to cooperate on pressing global issues. Our presidential correspondent Oh Soo-young is in Vilnius at the Korean Press Center to fill us in. So Soo-young, I understand the president's had a busy morning upgrading South Korea's partnership with NATO.
Good evening, Yoon. Yes, that's right. President Yoon met with NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg on Tuesday morning to elevate the two sides' bilateral relations from a cooperation arrangement they had for the past 11 years to a new individually tailored partnership program. Now, this spans 11 areas of cooperation. First, the two sides have agreed to ramp up dialogue through regular working level as well as high-level meetings across diverse political and military affairs. They'll also increase joint counter-terrorism efforts and discussions on disarmament and non-proliferation. Other key areas include emerging technologies, namely artificial intelligence, space, missiles, and quantum technologies, along with cybersecurity. Now, building up capacity for cooperation and military interoperability are also vital, as are science and tech, climate change, and women's roles in global peace and stability, along with public diplomacy, which were all included in the document. Now, this is a higher and broader level of cooperation for a NATO partner country, and institutionalizing these focus areas are also key to addressing North Korea's nuclear threat, according to a senior Yoon official. Now, Mr. Yoon and Mr. Stoltenberg in particular, they discussed ways to ramp up information sharing as well, along with cyber defense cooperation, according to the presidential office.
Right, and those issues were certainly addressed when President Yoon met with U.S. officials earlier this morning. Do tell us more, Soo-young.
Right, so President Yoon met with 6 U.S. senators, including Pete Ricketts, Angus King, Dick Durbin, and Dan Sullivan, who are here as part of the U.S. Observers Group of NATO Summit. The Korean presidential office says that the meeting reaffirmed the U.S. Congress's support for the 70th anniversary of the ROK-U.S. alliance this year and established greater understanding of Seoul's support for peace and reconstruction efforts in Ukraine. Now, we're looking to see whether Mr. Yoon will meet with President Joe Biden tonight, possibly at a banquet hosted by Lithuania for NATO partner countries. Now, the South Korean leader has hinted that he'd have various opportunities to catch up with Mr. Biden to address issues, primarily America's security commitment and trilateral security cooperation with Japan.
Right, so he'll undoubtedly be engaged in numerous diplomatic meetings. He's already had 3 before it was even lunchtime.
That's right. He was working up quite an appetite, I suppose, with all these bilateral summits. The president had a series of meetings this morning with the leaders of Norway, Portugal, and the Netherlands. Now, high on his agenda was ramping up global solidarity against North Korea's growing nuclear and missile threats and agreeing to strengthen joint efforts on peace and reconstruction efforts in Ukraine. With Norway, Seoul ramped up cooperation in research in the Arctic region and response to infectious diseases. Meanwhile, the Portuguese PM, Antonio Costa, said that he hoped to work closely with Korean semiconductor firms to join the value chain of the global supply chain. In response, President Yoon reportedly said that he would support smooth cooperation between the two countries' firms, as well as in other various fields, including digital tech, development cooperation, and people-to-people exchanges. Particularly when it comes to tech cooperation, South Korea and the Netherlands will join hands in a wide range of fields such as national defense and security, artificial intelligence, and of course, semiconductors, as well as nuclear power plants.
Well, thank you for keeping us updated, Soo-young. Take care out there. That was our Oh Soo-young in Vilnius traveling with the president. Staying with NATO-related news, in a tangible shift in stance, Türkiye has shared intentions to place its weight behind Sweden's bid to join the world's largest security alliance. Our Lee Seung-jae has the latest.
According to NATO chief Jens Stoltenberg on Monday, Türkiye has agreed to back Sweden's bid to join the NATO military alliance.
I have just had a constructive meeting with President Erdogan and Prime Minister Kristersson. I'm glad to announce that as a result, President Erdogan has agreed to forward the accession protocol for Sweden to the Grand National Assembly as soon as possible, and work closely with the Assembly to ensure ratification.
The announcement came after Stoltenberg held talks with Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson in Lithuania. The decision on Sweden's NATO bid comes despite Erdogan insisting on Monday that Sweden should be considered for the military alliance after Türkiye joins the European Union. Despite the support from Türkiye, Stoltenberg said this does not mean Sweden will immediately become the next member of the alliance and refrained from giving a specific timeline for membership.
I will not give you exact dates for that, but this is a clear commitment, and the President has made it clear that it will happen as soon as possible.
Ultimately, Erdogan's decision marked a significant U-turn from a previous firm stance against Sweden's attempts to join. Türkiye had mainly opposed Sweden's NATO membership due to claims that the Nordic nation allows members of recognized Kurdish terror groups to operate in the country, most notably the militant Kurdistan Workers' Party. It also recently accused Sweden of allowing Islamophobic demonstrations, such as the burning of the Quran. Despite this, the NATO chief said the two sides had worked closely together to address Turkey's legitimate security concerns, leading to the breakthrough. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
On the sidelines of the NATO Summit, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is scheduled to meet leaders from the United States, the European nation, and Canada, as Kyiv aims to join the security alliance as soon as possible after the war ends. Mr. Zelensky is set to arrive in Lithuania on Wednesday, the second day of the summit, hoping to get a clear signal on NATO members' intentions to bring Ukraine into the alliance. He has been stressing that Ukraine would be a valued NATO partner with the strongest armed forces in Europe. While some Eastern European NATO members are suggesting an early timetable to welcome Ukraine, some states such as the US and Germany remain cautious, partly because of fears that moving too quickly on NATO membership could provoke a direct conflict with Russia. The powerful sister of the North Korean leader, Kim Yo-jong, in her latest warnings calls South Korea as a separate sovereign state, indicating a possible change in stance. Our Kim Mo-kyung reads between the lines on what could be behind it.
For the first time ever, North Korea has referred to South Korea by its full official name, the Republic of Korea, in an official setting. This was done during North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's sister Kim Yo-jong's latest statement that accused Seoul and Washington of sending U.S. spy jets into the regime's exclusive economic zone. Seoul's military flatly denied the accusation, saying the flights were part of regular surveillance activities. Kim's referral is in stark contrast to the past, as Pyongyang has long referred to Seoul as Namjoseon, which means South Korea. Such a reference had been deemed as the regime considering South Korea as part of an original single country subject to a tentative special relationship before reunification. But Kim Yo-jong's referencing the South as the ROK appears to indicate that Pyongyang is now considering Seoul a separate country. A North Korean expert says such a change could signal that North Korea will shift toward a so-called two-Korea policy, which seeks confrontational coexistence with South Korea instead of working to improve inter-Korean relations.
The fact that Kim Yo-jong called South Korea the ROK in an official statement could be clear evidence that North Korea is no longer interested in cooperating with South Korea as part of the same people.
Seoul's Unification Ministry says it will not prejudge Pyongyang's intentions, but will closely monitor the situation. The ministry, however, mentioned that North Korea recently rejected a request by the head of South Korea's Hyundai Group for a visit to Mount Kumgang in August through its foreign ministry instead of the Committee for Peaceful Reunification of the Fatherland, the agency that had been overseeing inter-Korean issues. Kim Mo-gyun, Arirang News.
Later this week, accompanying the South Korean president to Poland are a number of business leaders who expect to strengthen ties in a variety of sectors, including battery and defense. Our business correspondent Lee Dae-yeon has more.
With President Yoon Suk-yeol set to visit Poland in the coming days, business delegations from South Korea will be heading there too to discuss strengthening bilateral ties in energy, defense, and infrastructure. These delegations will include the chairman and chief executive of LG Gu Kwang-mo, Hanwha Group's vice chairman Kim Dong-kwan, and chairman of LS Group Gu Ja-eun. LG's affiliates, including LG Electronics and LG Energy Solution, currently run a total of 8 corporations in Poland with almost 9,000 employees. LG's production accounts for 1.8% of Poland's GDP of over $688 billion. In addition, LG Energy Solutions' plant in the city of Wrocław is the biggest battery production site in Europe, and its production output surpassed 10 trillion won, or around $7.7 billion for the first time last year. LS Group, led by the chairman Gu Ja-eun, operates production plants for EV battery parts and fiber optical cable. The group's business in Poland continues to see growth, now standing at around $227 million in terms of monetary value. Its chairman visited LS Cable and System Poland Corporation in April to strengthen its position in the European EV ecosystem. Poland is also known for its defense sector. Hanwha Aerospace and the Polish government made a pact in August to export the K-9 Thunder, a South Korean self-propelled howitzer, and signed an additional contract to export multiple rockets to Poland in November, bringing the total to over $6 billion. Hyundai Rotem, which is supplying K2 Black Panther tanks to Poland, is expecting a contract extension in the second half of this year following its visit to Poland. Construction companies are also anticipating expanded business opportunities, as some Korean companies have already won contracts to build the biggest petrochemical plant in Poland. And with Poland launching a nuclear project, MOUs between the two countries are expected in next-generation energy sectors such as small modular reactors, which Korean companies are highly recognized for. Lee Dae-yeon, Arirang News.
South Korea's exports during the first 10 days of this month fell on-year amid shrinking shipments of semiconductors and overall shipments to China. According to the Korea Customs Service on this Tuesday, the value of exports dropped 14.8% on-year to $13.2 billion. Exports of chips plunged some 37% on-year. By destination, exports to Korea's largest trading partner, China, tumbled 20.6% compared to the same period a year before. Accordingly, Korea's trade deficit stands at $28.7 billion thus far this year. In South Korea, households with TVs pay 2,500 won, which is about $2 every month, with their electricity bills as a TV license fee. This way of collecting the fee for watching public broadcasting stations has now been changed after 29 years, with a new revision signed into law separating them. Our Kim Do-yeon explains.
The government approved a revision to the TV license fee collection method on Tuesday, and now the mandatory 2,500 won, or around $2 per month, will no longer be collected automatically by being attached to electricity bills. This comes after the presidential office conducted an open discussion online for a month from March to April to see if the public supported the idea of separating the two.
Through this, it is expected that the public will clearly acknowledge the payment of the license fee and increase awareness of their rights regarding this fee. The separation started with the people raising concerns over the current system.
According to the presidential office, around 97% of more than 58,000 participants wanted a change to the current collection system. Following this, the government began pushing for change through the Korea Communications Commission, which last week approved the revision. This doesn't mean households with TVs won't be free from paying the license fee anymore. While a new method is being finalized to start as soon as possible, residents will be able to request to pay the two bills separately. The license fee collected is distributed mainly to KBS, the country's main public broadcaster, with a small portion going to the Educational Broadcasting System, or EBS. Last year, KBS collected more than $536 million in licensing fees, around 45% of its budget. While it is still mandatory with the diversified payment system, KBS could see a fall in the fee collection rate, which stands at nearly 100% with the current system. In response, the channel announced that it'll take the matter to the Constitutional Court, claiming the revision was against the law. It said the separation of the fee collection will only make matters more complicated for the people, and it'll cost more to collect the fees, which it claims makes no sense. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
The number of people getting married in South Korea continues to show a downward trend, while the number of births also remains on its continuous decline. Data from Statistics Korea on Tuesday showed the number of marriages last year came in at 192,000, more than 100,000 less than that recorded in 1970. The number of births in the country dropped in tandem with the fall in marriage numbers, with 249,000 babies being born last year, less than half of what was recorded a decade ago. Among people aged between 25 to 49 in 2020, unmarried men made up about 47% and unmarried women nearly 33%. Following Russian figure skater Adelina Sotnikova's public admission of a positive doping result during the 2014 Winter Olympics, the Korean Sport and Olympic Committee has announced its intent to request an investigation by the Olympics governing body. If the IOC confirms the initial doping results, the repercussions could be significant. Shin Se-byuk reports.
Will figure skating medals from the 2014 Winter Olympics be re-awarded? South Korea's top sports body said Tuesday that it will ask the International Olympic Committee to investigate a recent doping admission by Russian figure skater Adelina Sotnikova, who, in 2014 at the Sochi Winter Olympics, beat South Korean defending champion Kim Yeon-ah for a controversial gold. At the time, the Russian skater's victory raised eyebrows after she made a critical stumble following a jump. It sparked quite a controversy surrounding the fairness of the judging process. The Korean Sport Olympic Committee's recent move comes as Sotnikova publicly admitted in a YouTube video last week that she had tested positive for a banned substance during the 2014 Winter Olympics, but was cleared following subsequent tests. What the substance was has not been disclosed, but the video has since been removed. In sports doping, it is considered rare for an athlete to test positive in their initial drug test, but then test negative in the following test. If the IOC were to reanalyze Sotnikova's sample and confirm her positive doping results, her gold medal could be taken from her. There are a number of past instances where positive doping results have emerged during post-competition testing, resulting in medals being awarded to someone else. A prominent example is Chang Mi-ran, a former South Korean weightlifter. Chang finished in 4th place at the 2012 London Olympics, but later she was moved up to 3rd place after the event bronze medalist failed a doping test. If Sotnikova is stripped of her medal, Kim Yeon-ah will earn the gold medal nearly a decade after the event. Shin Se-byuk, Arirang News.
As torrential rain continues to hit South Korea, especially the capital region and Busan City, authorities in the country are on alert to minimize damage and disruption. For more on this, we have our Bae Eun-ji on the line for us. So Eun-ji, we've been seeing heavy rain all day today.
That's right, Young. Seoul City saw up to 76 millimeters of rain per hour today. As of 3:40 p.m., South Korea's Central Disaster and Safety Countermeasures Headquarters raised its warning level from 1 to 2 in its three-tier system. The warning was issued across the capital region and the southeastern coastal city of Busan, and a heavy rain advisory was in place for most parts of the country. The government warned residents in affected regions to avoid rivers, coasts, and other areas at risk of flooding, and advised people to drive slowly. In parts of Seoul, including the districts of Dongjak, Guro, and Yeongdeungpo, residents received emergency alerts on their phones, warning of intense downpours, meaning there was more than 50 millimeters of rain in 1 hour and 90 millimeters of rain in 3 hours. Heavy rain will likely continue until tomorrow morning, as the state weather agency said the country will see 30 to 60 millimeters of rain per hour, accompanied by strong winds, thunder, and lightning overnight.
That sounds very concerning. Has there been any damage reported from the heavy rain?
Unfortunately, there was. A man in his 70s was killed after being swept away while walking along a river in the city of Yeoju, Gyeonggi-do Province, about 60 kilometers away from Seoul, where hourly rainfall reached almost 60 millimeters per hour. Searchers found his body at about 1:30 p.m., around 100 meters away from where he went missing. And a woman in her 60s has gone missing in Busan after being swept away by a flooded river. The emergency services are still looking for her. Over in Seoul, at about 4 p.m., metro trains between Yeongdeungpo-gu Station and Kumcheongu Office Station on Line 1 were suspended for about 15 minutes. Elsewhere in the country, rescue authorities received reports of flooded houses and roads, fallen trees, and other damage related to heavy rainfall. That's all I have for now at this hour. Back to you, Jiyoung.
Thank you, Eun-jit, for that.
Despite the continuous downpours, temperatures will get hotter across South Korea. Highs in Seoul will be about 4 degrees higher than today at 30 degrees Celsius. The south of the country, such as Daegu, will see more sweltering temperatures of 33. Readings will feel hotter than the actual readings due to increased humidity levels. This round of rainfall will bring heavy downpours for the morning hours tomorrow. As for the amount of rainfall, Jeollabuk-do Province will see heavy downpours of up to 200 millimeters. Parts of central regions, including the Seoul metropolitan area, can expect up to 120. The ground has gotten weaker due to continuous rain, making it easier to cause landslides and even property damage. Please take extra precautions. Morning temperatures in Seoul, Daejeon, and Busan will be starting off at 24 degrees. Daytime highs will be about 1 to 4 degrees higher than today. Seoul and Gwangju will get up to 30, Gyeongju 32, Busan will reach 28 degrees. This coming Thursday, the entire nation will see another round of monsoonal showers. That's all for now, and here are the weather conditions around the world.
That is all for tonight's newscast. Thank you for watching. We'll be back with the most up-to-date news tomorrow. Good night and stay safe.
하나, 둘, 셋.
Hey, Mr. Cupid, who's mine? Make sure you listen to what I say. I may be stupid or quite naive.
끝없이 쏟아지는 포토스팟. 휴대폰 한 대로 감당할 수 있겠니?